This episode, I share with you what happened when I found out the first person in my group of friends passed away way too soon and how I managed the rest of my busy workday and weekend. This episode is a way that I've practiced other traumatic experiences too when I am at the salon, and I encourage you to handle earth shattering news in a professional, manageable way. Are you ready? Are you a beauty or barber pro looking for that push to do that thing you've always wanted to do, whether it's in or out of the salon, spa, or shop? Are you tired of not feeling good enough, smart enough, skilled enough? Are you tired of not getting a handle on your mental health, boundaries, and insecurities? I'm Christine Sherwood, the BeautyPro coach, an internationally certified coach, a salon and spa owner, and your personal Jiminy Cricket. I use my own experiences, good and bad, as a salon owner to help you be more self-aware, authentic, and forward-thinking in your approach to life, in and out of the salon. It's time to reach your version of success with the Beauty Pro Coach podcast. I had a few minutes in between the phone ringing, clients walking in, my team asking me anything at all. So I opened up my Facebook really quickly, scrolled a few minutes, and saw the post. I actually scrolled past it at first, seeing the old childhood photo, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But I was like, wait a minute. Let me read this. I took a breath. You know, the one that you do when you're like, okay, see what's here now, and started to read the post. I read the full name of my schoolmate, friend, and for a few months in college, an ex boyfriend. I couldn't understand the words I read. He was gone, as in no longer on this same earth. Mind you, I hadn't seen him or his cousin who made the post in 10 plus years or so. But I immediately felt the loss of a warm soul and body who I had a personal connection with, who I actually could feel, touch, smell, like I knew this person. All these memories came back to me. I hadn't thought about it in years. Okay. I was in shock. I was at the salon. I was at the desk, actually. I didn't cry. I remember saying to my assistant, I dated this guy. He's gone now. She's like, "Are you okay?" I don't know if I turned pale and poker faced or what, but I shrugged it off. But I couldn't shake it off, you know? Our assistants see through us. I am 100% sure of it. I continued on with my day like nothing happened, but something did happen. I booked clients, trained my team, laughed, etc. To everyone else around me, no one could tell I just lost a piece of my personal history. A huge piece of who I am today, just released into eternity, never to be accessed again in this present world. My assistant kept checking in on me, looking at me, staring at me to see if I was okay. But my focus was my clients, right? My business. I need them to be okay, and I need my team to have focus and inspiration. I also did not want to overreact and become the center of attention. It's not about me. Not that day, not that week, none of it. I posted the required memorial photo on Facebook, and I said a few words. I only had one picture of us ever kind of incredible, right? Friends of mine messaged me almost immediately asking what happened, giving their condolences to me as if I knew what happened, as if we stayed in touch over the years. Turns out the accident my client was just telling me about, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Uh, Probably drunk driving, probably some kind of freak accident. The guy was probably tired. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the accident was in the news and in the paper. I didn't I shrugged it off. And for that, I feel slightly guilty, right? On my way home after work that day, which was possibly Wednesday, I think it was a Wednesday, the tears just flowed. I was listening to, I don't know what I was listening to, some song on the radio, and all of a sudden I could feel the tears streaming down my face. When I woke up the next day, the tears poured. I cried the same way you cry, knowing you're going to break their heart, the same way you cry when they shatter yours. Ugh, I got so sick with a migraine. I just couldn't breathe. It was a terrible feeling. It was all the guilt, all the sadness, all the things that you could have done better, but you didn't. Mind you, it's been 10 years, right? But it was a terrible feeling, as if it just happened, right? Because it did just happen. But I had to pull it together. Who was I? No one important. Just some random girl, a childhood friend. A girl that he knew when we were 22 years old. I made up my mind not to go to the funeral because, like I've been saying, it's 10 years ago. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to show up. I only knew 2 people and only heard his stories about his family. I knew them, but they did not know me. And if they did, they probably didn't remember me. Fast forward, I'm sitting in the aisle of the church, seeing how the last 10 years turned out, reflecting on how the last 10 years transformed me into a completely different person than when we were last together in that last and only photo I have of him. I watched the slideshow. He gained happy pounds because chubby firefighters were better at their job somehow. He told me that. He grew a stash, probably to piss someone off. It was a little creepy, but he probably loved it, most likely. And he had a gorgeous baby boy with his baby mama and created a seemingly sweet life for himself. Like, this was not the kind of reunion you want to have. I looked around, seeing all these people, listening to the stories that he himself told me word for word so many years ago. I wondered if all these people really knew him or if they were just there to say that they went. I'm sure he would have loved seeing me, an ex-girlfriend, the one who broke it off just before his final fire school test. He would have loved seeing me cry over him. You lost me, honey. Your loss, I could hear him say. I could hear him completely, totally. For me, I had to be at that funeral for me to say the final goodbye to him, to the version of me he knew, to close that part of my story that made me who I am today. I remember all of it. He played such a pivotal role for me in being kind, knowing what I want in life, in a relationship, for my own self, for defining what's a good guy and what's a bad guy, and what's a guy that needs a hug and needs some extra loving, you know? I share this experience for several reasons. The first reason is to honor my childhood friend, a local firefighter, to mourn him with his family as they go into this first holiday season without him, his mischievous self. He was funny, and he would tell me that he was funny. And I knew he was funny because I'd crack up laughing. But he'd say, I'm funny, but it's because there's more to me. And I always remembered that. I share this funeral experience of a young guy, a young man that I knew I have journals about. Okay. Part of my healing is because of him. I was there to remember him. And I'm here on this podcast right now in this episode to honor him, to remember him on a podcast. He would have loved it. I had a radio show in college and he thought it was the coolest thing you could ever imagine. Plus, I have been working through the loss myself, right? Even though it was a friend 10 years ago, you feel insignificant. I haven't really spoken about it much to anybody because nobody really knows who I'm talking about. So this is really the first time that I get to kind of voice it all out, more or less. Again, the guy has his own several journals that I got on him. And so there's a journal entry about this now too. The healing process is a never-ending one. And I hope this story, this experience that I went through, helps you heal. People are a part of us, and you are a part of others. And every life we touch is on purpose. I am not one to believe in coincidences, right? There is no coincidence. There's all purpose. And that, my friend, he's a special friend of mine forever. Whatever wrong he did, whatever good he did, whatever he did to make me upset, or whatever it was that made me happy, he is memorialized now. And he's on this podcast for all to hear about his influence on me, on my life. And so that's the first reason why I share this. The second reason is to teach you, listener, whether you're a beauty or barber pro, whether you're a massage therapist, nail tech, skin therapist, we influence people, our clients, co-workers, relationships, neighbors, the really hot guy in the produce stand. Like, we touch people's lives positively and negatively and all at once. We are the good guy and the bad guy in other people's stories. For my friend, I believe I was both the good guy and the bad guy for him. And vice versa, he for me too. He taught me, I taught him. It's a cycle of healing and learning. We leave our imprint on people's hearts, whether we realize it or not. People see us for all their occasions in the beauty world. Okay. When they go into the hospital, when they come out of the hospital. And even if they don't come out of the hospital, guess who's called? A hairstylist and a makeup artist for those open caskets. If we don't know who we are, why we do what we do for a living, or have really shoddy boundaries, we're going to make a mess on their hair, skin, nails, and most importantly, our business. When you can confidently carry yourself with love, grace, forgiveness, you'll be able to handle those quote unquote problem clients with more understanding, more compassion, not because they're your favorite, but because you know your purpose here. If you're listening, you notice that not once did I share my personal problem, my sadness, my shock with any of the clients. Not once did I create a scene or start gossiping about the guy and all the bad things he did to me, or all the great things he did to me, or the realization, or just like the nonstop chatter about him to my clients, to people that don't give a rip. Okay. One reason being, the paying clients session then turns to be all about me. I'm all about being raw and real, speaking the truth, even if it hurts. But there are certain things like this, the traumatic experiences, that you don't need to invite people into. You don't have to volunteer information when it's not appropriate. If I would have spilled my guts out to my assistant, the how she viewed me would have been completely different. If I were to be talking about what just happened and I knew him and this and that and this is what happened and blah, 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 to the clients and to the whole salon, like, that's totally unfair to those people who are paying. It's totally unfair to me and my grieving process, and to him and his family, who, by the way, if they are listening, I am here for you, right? I am an advocate for you. But you don't have to make it about you as a hairdresser when bad things happen to your life, okay? This particular story was a story the entire county where I live found out about. So any little thing as a hairdresser, as a woman, coming out of my mouth will find its way back to me somehow, some way, and that ruins not only my reputation, his reputation, the family's reputation, my business, who what I stand for. It does all of those things. So you really got to mind your mouth and mind your business. When my grandfather died and my favorite client in the whole world passed away, I kept going in the salon. I got the news. I had to swallow it like a freaking rock. It was the most difficult experiences I've ever had in my life. And you, as a beauty and barber pro, as a salon owner, we have to do those things to keep the peace. We maintain the pretty. And because the truth is, no one, and I mean no one, especially clients, no one cares. Clients and even teammates sometimes will take that vulnerable moment of your suffering, of your shock. They'll ask for discounts, for advances on their checks, because they figure she'll let it go. She's not up for it. She's going through something hard. Let me just see how far I can push the envelope, right? Clients are paying for themselves. Teammates, employees, no matter how well you get along, they're in your salon for them. They got bills to pay, they got families to feed. We, as the owners, we, as the leaders, managers in the salon, we're the pillar holding up the building, the culture, the vision. You may think, wow, Chris, that's really harsh. You know, you're a person too, you're not a robot. You're right. Absolutely. And that's why less is always more. It applies with makeup, and that rule applies to life. And I can say this because I've done and tried all the ways. Okay. And I can tell you that when you let all the emotions out and you just show people at the exact moment that it happens, it hurts and you embarrass yourself. And perhaps that's just, my style of doing things. Because in therapy and coaching, when something hurts you, you got to speak it up. You got to say it. And I'm not discounting that because you have to, okay? But you also have to be prudent and wise. And I've done it, what I'm telling you now, of, you're not keeping it inside per se. You are restraining the emotion. You're processing it strategically. And it's hard to do. And it's kind of like, you know, keeping your hand on a hot stove and not screaming. Okay, but you pull it away. It's kind of like that, because if you scream, you're going to wake up the baby, kind of deal. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And I really urge you, in these instances when you are with clients behind the chair, to really do this. And it's hard. And if it were easy, there wouldn't be me, a coach, teaching you about it. Okay, pay attention to people's body language when you talk about yourself. It's uncomfortable for them, it's embarrassing for them and for you eventually when you wake up from it. And I just want to get through to you here that there's a time and there's a place for everything. And many times it's not ever in front of your client or your employee or your team. This is one of those moments where you got to suck it up as a business owner and set the example and tone. And I really urge you, if you have any questions about this, send them to me on IG, because these situations get sticky fast. And every situation, every experience is different. When my grandfather passed, it was completely different from when my dear friend, who was a local firefighter, God bless the firefighters, when I found out the news from him. And when my client, I've never met a woman like her before and will never again, when I got the call at the salon, they're all different scenarios, but the theme is to not panic, stay calm, take deep breaths, think about what is being told to you and act later. The third reason I share this experience that I had with my friend, with my past, is to ask you the tough questions. So grab your journal, your pen, maybe even your tissues. I actually had to stop recording for a minute, and you couldn't even tell, could you? To wipe some tears. So go ahead and get your stuff. Feel free to pause this anytime to write out your answers. Okay, because this is the kind of reflection that you need to do. And as you do it more often, it becomes more second nature, and you don't even have to have a journal. Sometimes you want to have a journal to kind of just get your thoughts together. That's definitely my kind of style. You see me on Instagram, you see me on Reels, and I'm acting so funny and so silly and doing all these weird things. But I promise you, I am an introvert, and I'm actually very, very shy. And I don't do a lot of things. And even at the funeral, I did not do the one thing. The whole purpose of going to a funeral is to wish your condolences to the parents, to the family. I didn't do that. And I can tell you right now, I regret it. And I have so many regrets during this particular relationship, but I also have so many celebrations. And I regret not speaking to his dad and wishing, you know, that I'm praying for him, that how I feel and all that, who I even am. Like, I regret that. But the celebrating part of it is that I'm honoring that family, my friend, through a podcast that will live forever on the airwaves and on the internet. And I do, if they are hearing me now, if the family is listening to me now, just know that your legacy will live on, and the testimony is out there. And I hope that you find this episode a blessing to you and not a mockery, not anything less than beauty. So, back to the questions, right? So, what do you want your clients to remember you for? For all your drama, your bad news, or for all your warmth, your education, making them feel empowered? And this goes for not just your clients, this goes for the people who pass away in your life, for your family, for your relationships, your breakups, your reunions. What do you want your people to remember you for? I know that his name was JD, by the way. I know that JD had remembered me probably as the girl that dumped him before his final test at fire school. He probably was like, wow, whatever, and like forgot me most likely, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But that's something that I regret, and it hurts. But at the same time it hurts. You see how beautiful his life was in the past 10 years. And that's how it is for us as beauty and barber professionals. We have that one client that we just can't seem to make happy, right? It's not a good fit. No matter what we do, it's just not going to work out. And we can reflect and we can figure out what we could have done better. And then they leave you for another stylist, right? This is that question that we got to think about. The next question: how do you want them to feel when they hear your name? Just your name. Will they feel safe knowing they can trust you with their secrets, their emotional secrets, skin and hair secrets? Or will your name become a trigger for them? This is a big one as a beauty and barber pro. Because if somebody says your name, right, immediately they're going to have a feeling associated with your name, right? The best example for this is the Karen haircut, right? Like, oh, she's a Karen. And now everyone in the entire world whose name is Karen has to change their name. They have to rebrand. They have to become a completely different person, because if you tell anybody that your name is Karen, they're going to associate you with having an attitude problem. So there's that. The third question is, what do you want your clients, friends, family to say about you when you're not in the room? Will they say how professional, knowledgeable, and caring you are over their hair needs, and how you have a solution every time? Or will they laugh behind your back saying how crazy and embarrassing you are, and how they curse you out every time they look at their hair, skin, and nails? So, what do you want your people to say about you when you're not in the room? These questions, I have answered them myself many times throughout my life. I have thought about it, in different perspectives of my life, professionally, romantically, all of these things. And I can tell you every so often the answers change, because we are ever changing. But I will say that these questions determine your reputation in and out of the salon, in and out of relationships, how you view yourself. Okay. The answers to these questions are the same ones they'll be saying when you pass from this life into the next. And at that point, when it's all over, there's nothing left for you to do, right? That's the end. That's the end of it. So the opportunity is now to change whatever it is that you want to change now. You don't want them to be saying XYZ. Well, you got to go change some ABC. You understand? So think about those clients that just get under your skin in such a way you want to literally drown them with the back bar water hose. Like, those are the clients that, believe it or not, are the best gift you could ever have. You make a difference in their lives, but they're teaching you where your weaknesses are, and you're showing them, in the most professional way, by the way, their own reflection of misery they put out into the world. Because in reality, miserable people, they just need to have a hug. Anyway, this whole episode, this is just a snippet, a glimpse of what my friend JD Smith taught me. And I'm here to pass it forward. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm going to see him again. And so I'm not too sad, but we're human and we think about these things. And I do believe in heaven and I do believe in hell. Not to get, not to have religious talk on a professional beauty podcast. What a no-no. But let's be real for a minute, because we're human and we all have our day. Like, all of our days are numbered. And this is real life. And these are the topics that we need to be talking about as an industry. And I know JD would be so proud, I think, to hear my growth, right? He probably would have been blown away that because of him, I have learned all of this and I've applied it to my own life, all because of him and the things that he would say to me and the different actions and the way he would call me out on things. It was cool. When you learn, when you're going through it, it's not so cool. But once you pass the test, you realize, wow. So I will see you again, my dear, dear special freckled friend. And I'll talk to you, dear listener, very, very soon. I hope my stories in this episode help you handle whatever life throws at you when you have a salon full of clients, employees, renters, people calling off the hook to get in to see you. It's a lot going on. We work with people, and it's inevitable we will have our moment. So then the only difference for us is that we work with being pretty. And if we want to maintain pretty, this episode is how we got to be for everyone's sake. If you loved this episode, subscribe to the BeautyPro podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave your reviews, stars, feedback so I can continue bringing the content you deserve and want most. Your feedback fuels this podcast. The more you give, the more you get back. You can follow me at The BeautyPro Coach on Instagram and Facebook. Want to contact me directly? Email me at befree@goldentruthcoaching.com.